what can I do just in this moment? One little thing that might help me get a little closer to what I want, just in this moment. And man, it's a process that I use over and over, and I have found to be so powerful and so valuable to my clients. And so this book is really exercises and processes, and there's a 90-day plan to help people start learning to redesign their life. And I call it design instead of create, because create sounds like, even though creatives, we're creating, but design feels a little bit more intentional, So yeah, somewhere probably around the beginning of the year, I'm even looking at maybe launching a course that helps people walk through it, because what I've noticed is even though the exercises are there, a lot of people feel very overwhelmed. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so much, I don't know what to do. And it's like, just choose one for the day. Just choose to stop and breathe. It can be that simple. And so a little support about making it simple, because, when we're stressed or overwhelmed, I love that brain part too. We operate in a different mode, and that's when that creativity shuts down. That's when that life shuts down. That's when that joy shuts down. And that's no bueno. You can end up like I did, with all of a sudden realizing you've got these health challenges going on, or emotional depression, the anxiety, the I don't know how to even get up and make it through the day anymore, or I don't have anything to look forward to, or that lack of hope. And, it just all keeps going back to us. So the book is, I think what it's doing is people are buying it to help them remember how to redesign their life and how to make it more simple again and find that balance back in their life. So we've become a society that just kind of, as we said at the beginning, is go, go, go. And, we're forgetting how to just be, and how to connect and how to have that kindness with ourselves, with others. And, those things that when we start getting a little bit more in a peace and joyful mode, life just tends to flow better when we come from that place, and we tend to have better connections with people. And, it tends to create a ripple effect around us and then the community and the world. So yeah, it all ties in together.
It's that law of attraction, really.
It is. Absolutely.
Your energy can be, your energy could be felt within 5 feet of whomever is nearby, or you could feel their energy. When someone's really upset, they don't have to say a word. You could feel that even if they're across the room sometimes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you haven't worked to get yourself in a place where you're able to not take on that energy, then it kind of starts creating a ripple effect of not feel so good.
Yes.
And when you mentioned that HeartMath, are you familiar with the HeartMath Institute and some of the work they're doing with it? It's familiar. It's just like it sounds, HeartMath, and it's not math. But it talks about that, they call it coherence. That when you're really your heart is in a coherent mode, meaning kind of a peaceful, calm mode is one of the best ways to do it. It actually syncs with your brain. It's fascinating research on it. It's something I also work with my clients with to learn how to go inside. And that's part of that, go inside from that heart space, if you want to call it that. And sometimes even just touching your heart helps get you out of that fight or flight or stress mode. And taking those few deep breaths and really imagining something that brings you joy, or that is love, or a place that you do, and breathing. And if you can even do that for 5 minutes, it starts then syncing with the brain, and you can see the pattern of it. Biofeedback just means a tool, and I use a biofeedback tool with some of my clients, but they can literally see what that thinking, shifting that thinking has done to their physical state.
Yes.
And the more you're able to do that, that's what they also talk about, that effect of radiating out that energy. It's a way to truly radiate it out, but also within. And when you do it within, it has a period of time that it stays within and has an impact. Plus, when you look at the brain research and neuroplasticity, you're actually literally rewiring your brain to then support it, which, we've kind of created ruts where we're stuck. It's kind of, if we walk this tall patch of grass enough, we wear out a little rut, but we forget we can start a new one. And so maybe it's saying, okay, I'm going to go to the right now instead of that ingrained, embedded path of high grass, that maybe is so tall, that's all I see now. I'm going to go ahead and have the courage to walk through another path and start marking it. And then after we walk that enough, we've now made a new path. It's very similar with our brain. And, when you get out of that perpetual stress state, which physiologically and literally brain-wise does not support that change, this allows us to shift. And, we circle back around to that creative. That's one thing that creative part of us, it helps us to calm down and to get present and to start calming our system down, start shifting our physiology. It starts shifting our brain chemistry, starts shifting our the neuroplasticity. We start creating new wires, and creativity is such a beautiful way to do it. So it circles back around to even the artist does matter. And we're all inner artists if we just tap into it in our own way. And it's healing, and it's healing for others when we share it. So, yeah.
I do have a regular day job, and it's dealing with a lot of stressful things. People are coming in to file. It's like some of the worst days of their life. They have to file an injunction against someone that's abusing them domestically. And I look for my break.
Yes.
I never really was a walker.
Yes.
But I look for that moment where I can take a walk. Mm-hmm. And there's a great way, because I could go out the front of this courthouse, and there's this wooden bridge.
Nice.
It's like away from everything. There's traffic alongside of it, but that doesn't matter. I'm on this nice, peaceful bridge. I could see the birds. Yeah. And I just had went to the doctor, and they saw a cyst on my kidney and a lesion on my hip. So I'm thinking some things here, and I'm walking on this bridge, and I'm like, okay, my mortality, what the heck? And, it's like not knowing.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm aware that, okay, I'm doubting, what, I'm like thinking of the worst possible scenarios. I'm like, well, wait, what is that going to do for me? I can't think that way. I want to heal. I want to make my body better. I know if I focus on the thoughts of healing, it can work. And then even creatively, I just drifted off into a story I was writing, and I was actually kind of acting it out. I don't know how I looked.
Love it.
Yeah, I was like making maneuvers, and as I'm walking on the bridge, I'm thinking of the story, and I'm thinking of the actions the characters would make. So just through that whole less than 15 minutes of walking back to the courthouse, my shift changed, and I just embraced my creative, imaginative side. Yes, that's beautiful, and I love that. That's actually one of the chapters in my book is that power of that visualization. And, creating that image of what you want, and then focusing on it and allowing yourself to tap in. I love that. Yeah, wow. Beautiful. Just came out. Beautiful. That's why I look forward to those walks, because to recharge the mind.
Yes, yes. And it can be that simple. And I think sometimes people think it has to be really complicated. And it doesn't. 1 minute of just stopping and breathing and shifting your state, if you do that every hour at work, you'd be surprised at how much better it can feel. Or doing exactly what you're saying, getting out and taking a short walk and then stretching, and there's new science showing that even yawning is even better than deep breathing. It sounds kind of funny, let's stop and take 5 deep yawns. But it actually shifts the physiology even more. And it's those simple things that people think it's so complicated, and we get so stuck in that story. But if we just start a different path and start cultivating some habits that are empowering for us, it starts one micro step at a time. It doesn't have to be big changes. Maybe I breathe intentionally for 1 minute today. And maybe that's more than I did yesterday, and I have that moment of peace, and that's a great place to build on, And if it's that small, what was that moment of peace like for you today? Maybe you could have 5 minutes of peace tomorrow, and how beautiful that could be just to start. But we have to start. We have to not just think it. We have to, like you did, get up, walk, and take that path, because we can think it all the day, but if we don't take any inspired action, nothing's really going to change. So
no. I'm glad I had because they were doing construction and I couldn't go on the bridge for a few weeks. I had to walk. I had to walk a different way, but it was mainly through town, and there's cars and there's buildings and there's people, and it's like it's just kind of the whole concrete and all that. But that path is more. You got the trees, you got the birds, you got the water. It's so much nicer.
Yes, beautiful. Yes. You know, it reminds me when you were saying that, I thought, even like with drawing, if people think about, I'm going to draw a picture, well, you don't think about not drawing what you don't want. Okay, that might have come out wrong, but you don't think about, I don't want to not draw it over here. You think about, I want to draw that line here. And so even with that, we're being very intentional. If I want to draw a circle, I don't think about the non-circle. I think about the circle, and how am I going to take my pen, focus on putting it on the paper and doing my best to create a circle. We don't sit there and think, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, I'm going to mess up my, I mean, we can if we stop, but sometimes we get so stuck on what we don't want. And I love that you say you were focusing on what you want, because, I even had that happen when I was so sick. I'm like, oh, what's wrong with me? How, can't.
There she goes again.
I know, he has his own words. It says, yes, that's so true. He says, I focus on, I want a bone. I want to go for a walk, and I tell you. But it's that focus on, what would it feel like to have health in my life again? What would it feel like to have more peace or more joy? What would it feel like in coming from that place versus I don't want to be depressed, or I don't want to be stressed, or I don't want to be overwhelmed? One of the things I do with my clients when I'm doing trainings is I say, okay, your brain doesn't really know the difference. If I say, don't think of an apple, don't think of a banana, don't think of an orange, I'm going to think you up a whole fruit basket, and you're not supposed to have it. Or if you think, I don't want a banana, I don't want a banana, I don't want a banana, it's still there, and you're now so stressed because you can't get rid of that thought. You're actually more stressed. So, well, what would you want? Okay, I want a grape in my fruit basket. I'd like a cantaloupe in my fruit basket. And, it's not really any different with the way we look at our problems and our issues. And we can stop and breathe and get out of that stress brain. We open up the part of the brain that's creative, which also is that problem-solving part. So, it's just that reminder to stop and breathe. I mean, if I teach people nothing else, stop, take a few deep breaths, and allow yourself to respond versus react. So,
that's it.
Because we tend to wake up and just react our way through life. And it can become a habit. Yeah.
And it could get you into big trouble sometimes, too, legally.
Yes. So it's just, and I see so many people who say, you don't know my story. You don't know what's happened. And I say, I got a pretty rough story, too. So I can relate. And I don't want to minimize anybody's story. That's not what it's about. But what I have seen is people with the most stories far worse than mine have shifted it around. But they've gotten clear on what they want. They've often found support, because it's awfully hard to do on your own. Yes. And they've taken actions, even if it's one tiny action step each day, to move them along that path. And, it sounds so simple, and it can be so simple, but we make it so complicated sometimes. Yeah. And, I tell people, it's kind of like you can't see the picture if you're in the frame. You've got to kind of get back and get some perspective. And sometimes if we're stuck in the frame, that's where somebody on the outside can come in and gently, guide us and help us get back on that path. And that's what I love to do with my coaching too, is just, you got it. You've got it. You've got the answers within. Sometimes you just need to be reminded the right questions, questions that will help you move forward, not keep you stuck. So.
For sure. Where do you think this desire to help others comes from?
I've had it all my life.
All your life, huh?
All my life, in one capacity or another. Problem solving. I love problem solving and curiosity, and when you look at people and when they're stuck, the curiosity of, I wonder what those limiting beliefs might be. And if we change those limiting beliefs, I wonder how good your life really could get. And are you even open to allowing it to get that good? Because sometimes people say they want it, but it's so unfamiliar, they can't even imagine what